In this episode, back pain. Do you suffer from back pain? Why you might be suffering from back pain, and exercises and techniques you can do right now, today, to start working on it. I sound like I've been smoking for 20 years. Hey, Maud, get me another pack of Camels. She never listens.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Testicles. Welcome, everyone, to episode 624 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Gaincast, Mancast, Pumpcast, Nipplecast, and Coffeecast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex. Oh. We all flex our biceps. Welcome, everyone, to episode 624 of the Swole. Make sure you share. Make sure you say what up live on Facebook, live on Instagram. And remember, everyone, you can catch every single episode of the Daily Swole on SoundCloud and iTunes whenever you want. I'm on my little bouncy ball, Papa Swolio. I'm a big boy. I got my coffee. I'm a good boy. So what's up, fam? What's going on? Every day live at 12 noon Eastern time. Welcome, podcast. Welcome, Facebook. Welcome, Instagram. Welcome, YouTube. Welcome, world. How's the Saturday going? How we doing? Lakes up, cloudies, 25 Burnsy. Yo, what up? Jeremy Dunnigan, Vince is here. Aaron Johnson, Victoria McConnell, Raymond LeBuck. What up, Dash? What up? What's going on, Papa Swolio? Sergeant and Freak on IG. So make sure you say what's going on. Rep your country, rep your state, where you're from. What are you feeling today? Fam? Today's episode 624. What we're going to talk about today is back pain. As you can see behind me on the board, back pain blows. So the first question of the day, just to get us started in the comments here on Facebook and IG, have you ever had back pain before? This is a good one for you, Mike. I know you've had issues. We're going to talk about back pain today, and I know a lot of you have dealt with back pain. Most people have dealt with back pain at least once in their lifetime. So I want a roll call of everyone that's had back pain. I mean, any kind of back pain. I'm talking about maybe like a back injury you had 5 years ago. I'm talking about chronic pain. I'm talking about aches. I'm talking about any type of lower back pain or back pain that you have had in your life. So drop the details below. Say, yes, I've had back pain, or give us a little bit more background. I want to know what your back injury or your back pain in the comments right now, because we're going to talk a little bit this episode a lot about back pain and some of the things that you can do right away to start combating back pain. And I just want to begin with why you have, or why you potentially. Now, when you start talking about pain, it's a very slippery slope. And it's funny because I've tried to run videos and I've run advertisements on Facebook that got blocked because I was promoting a corrective exercise workshop. And I might have mentioned this months ago. Those of you that remember, those of you that are part of Swolenormous X, I was trying to, promote a corrective exercise workshop, talking about how this would reduce pain and blah, 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 which is true. But pain is it's a very sketchy kind of gray area where you can't say, this is going to take your pain away. It's kind of like snake oil salesman-y. I didn't intend it like that because I'm talking about corrective exercise and postural imbalances and stuff like that. But for all the Facebook bots know that it's just like a pill. Oh, take this and, boom, your pain is gone, right? So there was I thought it was kind of funny because I was looking through my ad copy and the text. I'm saying why would this not get approved? I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to promote proper exercise technique and how to activate the glutes and stuff like that. But they weren't allowing me to do it. So yeah. So keep on dropping comments because I want to go through them at the end and kind of analyze where you might have had issues from. So very commonly, we as a society, we have acute and chronic injuries that stem from imbalances. And an imbalance is a postural imbalance. It's when you have muscles that are too tight, muscles that are too weak, muscles that are not working. And what happens is because you have muscles that surround and support a joint, and you have muscles all over the body, internal, deep muscles, and superficial, more external muscles that you can see, we have a lot of layers and a lot of pulley systems and a balance system that keeps us aligned, that keeps us posturally aligned. And that just means balance with gravity. So thumbs up for posture, thumbs up for posture. And also, fam, if you know anyone that has back pain, make sure you share them, make sure you tag them in this episode because it's a big one. It's a big one. It's really important. So because you're sitting down so much, if you sit down for long commutes in the car, if you sit on a train for work, if you sit on a bus, if you sit on a couch, if you sit at work, if you have a desk job, if you're sitting at a desk for 8-10 hours a day, if you're working like a secretary or a receptionist or something like that, if you're sedentary a lot, you create imbalances around the hip. And there's a lot of different ways where you can lead to back pain. And it's not just the hips. You can have an ankle problem. I've had these conversations in my messages recently. If you have a sprained ankle, if you have a broken ankle, that can lead to back problems. If you sit down a lot, that can lead to back problems. If you have shoulder problems, or if you have some kind of upper body postural issue, that can lead to lower back problems. But it mostly starts with the lower body. And the reason why is because we are kind of built like a pyramid. Even though we're not a pyramid, we're not that wide at the bottom. Our base of support, what supports us against gravity and against Earth, is the bottom part. So our base has to be stronger, and our lower body is in fact stronger, and the muscles are larger, and the bone structure is larger than our upper body. It just makes sense. Okay, so the idea, the concept of a pyramid makes sense. So we can still use that as our example. So because a pyramid is what we're going to relate ourselves to, whatever goes down at the base, kind of like Jenga, and I use Jenga a lot, that game where you take a stick out and then the whole thing has to be rebalanced and repurposed and repositioned. When you take away the stability at the base of a pyramid or at the base of like a Jenga tower, you are, in fact, changing the balance of tension all the way up the chain. So the same thing happens with the human body. Same thing happens with the skeletal structure. When you have an ankle injury, your ankle's no longer stable and it's no longer supporting the same way. So your body will adjust and lean differently, and you'll bias towards the other ankle more. You'll lean on the other ankle that's healthy. So if you've ever had an ankle injury, obviously you're not walking on your sprained ankle. If you broke your ankle, you're not walking on that ankle. You have a cast on, you're using the other ankle more. And this is called compensation. Your body starts using other muscles more than others. Your body starts rebalancing and repurposing its alignment. And the problem is once your body heals, once your hip heals or your knee injury heals or your ankle injury heals, your imbalance remains because you're not doing corrective exercise, you're not doing activation techniques. And the reason why there is an imbalance that remains is because neurally, your brain kind of forgets how to activate the glute tissue. Because you're sitting down so much and you're adding pressure, physical pressure on the glutes, it causes inhibition of the glute tissue because it's like foam rolling or massage. By sitting on the glutes and keeping the glutes in a stretched, elongated position in hip flexion, you are shutting down the glute muscles. So that's one. When you have a knee injury, you are going to be favoring one side more than the other. So then one side of your body, you'll walk differently. One side of the body, you'll be deactivating the glute action more. So then there's instability left to right. Same thing with an ankle injury. So when you have these situations that arise from injuries, that arise from immobility, that arise from staying in knee flexion because you're bent because you're sitting at a table, or your hips are bent because you're sitting at a table, or your ankles are your Achilles tendon is shortened because you're wearing high heels all the time. Same concept. Ankle imbalance from high heels, knees from, knees are going to have problems from high heels and also from being flexed too much, and the quad and the hamstring tension, and also the hips being out of alignment because you're sitting and they're flexed too much. So if you have, and someone just mentioned slack lining for balance problems. I'm not talking about balance, like trying not to fall over. When I'm talking about balance, I'm talking about activation. Balance is something else. Balance is something else. When I'm talking about balance, I mean even tension around the muscles. I mean the glutes should be as strong relative to what the hip flexors need to be. That the adductors should be strong enough relative to what the abductors, the gluteus medius, should be. So every muscle is going to be different in strength and absolute strength, but they need to be strong enough relative to one another. So we have to create that balance. not like literal balance like on a trapeze, but balance in the muscle tension around the skeleton. So what can you do? What can you do to start releasing lower back pain and releasing pressure in your lower back? What happens because of the imbalance? Because of the imbalance around the hips, you are causing excessive lordotic curve. You're causing an excessive hip flex position and anterior pelvic tilt. So the hips are tilting forward. So I want you to picture this effect as pretend your hips are a bucket of water, right? Pretend your hips are a big bucket of water and you are pouring water out the front of the bucket. Okay. So your hips are a bucket of water and you're pouring water out the front. That will cause your lower back to arch more. Think about a girl wearing high heels, excessive lower back arch. She doesn't have a butt. It's like an Instagram picture, right? It's like an IG chick. She doesn't have a butt. She's arching her back really, really hard. It's like a Gymshark girl. No butt, just arches her back really hard and kicks her leg back. And then, oh, you have a butt. No, your body fat just has nowhere else to go but create a little round bump. Plus, the pants are really tight, so they're holding it in place. So, yeah. So that lower back arch gets created. Okay. Now, lower back arch, if it's excessive because of that hip flex position, because of those tight hip flexors and the weak glutes, because of that anterior tilt, you're getting excessive lordotic pressure. You're getting excessive pressure on the posterior aspect of those intervertebral discs. So that excessive curve is putting pressure on the discs, can lead to bulging discs, herniated discs, chronic back pain. Because when you start squeezing the discs, when you start bending the back, you lose that shock absorption and you create more impact and you can have issues in the lower back. So what we have to do is we have to pour water out the back end of the bucket. So if your hips are that bucket and it's pouring water out the front and you have an anterior tilt, we have to create a posterior pelvic tilt. And those of you that are educated in this, I mean, you can float some hearts if you've heard of the term posterior pelvic tilt. If you've watched my show, if you've listened to my podcast, you've heard me mention posterior tilt numerous occasions. Posterior tilt is performed by a couple muscles. It's a synergistic movement from the core stabilizers. It is activated. I did a post on this yesterday on Instagram about stop doing crunches. I'll probably throw that up on Facebook here too, so you guys have some reference. When you suck your stomach in, you're activating your transverse abdominis, and that adds pressure. That adds pressure around the organs, that adds pressure around the base of the spine, and it will flex the spine a little bit. It'll add some pressure in the front by compressing the organs and allow that spine to flex more. Also, when you squeeze the glutes, when you do glute activation exercises, when the glutes are contracting because of their attachments on the pelvis and their insertions onto the femur, it will posteriorly tilt the pelvis when the glutes are activated. So if you have an anterior pelvic tilt, your glutes are not activated. And you might say, well, I have a big butt. Having fat on your butt does not mean you have a strong butt. I don't care if you have a big butt. You just have fat on top of your butt muscles and your butt looks big, but it doesn't mean it's activated. So to activate the glutes means to create balance around the hips. So by doing isolation exercises for the glutes, and this is what I've done in those of you that are in Swolenormous X, you know this because I have that glute pack in there for glute activation specifically. So those of you that are Swolenormous X members, you could drop a couple comments of those of you that have done the glute pack, and even those of you that have done the 90-day dash inside Swolenormous X, you know there's so much activation exercises, especially at the beginning of the program, in order to balance out the hips. So you do these activation exercises for the glutes. And then over time, when you're doing yoga, when you're doing hip flexor stretches, and you're doing the glute activation exercises, what you're doing is you're reconnecting the brain to the glutes and reminding the brain, essentially, that the glutes exist. You're reminding the brain of the glutes phone number. Sounds weird, 110% true. It's the best way to describe it. It's the best way to get a visual concept of it. You're reminding the glutes, or reminding the brain that the glutes exist. You're reminding the brain that the glutes exist. So once you do that, then and only then, after you start activating the glutes over the course of weeks, you can start integrating back to strength training exercise. The problem is a lot of people don't do these corrective exercises and don't do these activation exercises properly. There needs to be a very specific form, because remember, you're not just doing a glute kickback or a leg kickback. You're not just, oh, I need to do glutes, so you're going to do squats. That doesn't work, fam. I've done this on content here before, and I'll have to go back into it for all the new members and to recap this and to refresh it. Because I'm talking about activating your glutes, you cannot do this by going and just doing squats today at the gym. That will not help. And you might say, well, Papa Swolio, squats work the peach, blah, blah, blah. No, they don't. Not when the peach ain't working. So if you don't have active glutes, if your glutes are not active, if your glutes are not firing properly, you will not be targeting them when you do your squats. This is a reason why when you do lunges, when you do squats, when you do leg exercises, you don't feel it in your glutes so much. You feel it in your back, your quads, or your hamstrings. So if you're doing leg day and you're getting sore underneath your butt, like where you sit on a toilet seat, but you're not getting sore in the meat of your butt, then you're not doing it right. Then your glutes are not activating properly. Your form is not proper. And if your glutes are not activating properly, then your form isn't going to be good. And you are going to put yourself at risk for injury because you're going to start working the lower back too much, the quads too much, the hamstrings too much, and the glutes are not stabilizing the lower back. So then you put your knees and your lower back at risk. And this is why those of you that have lower back pain, it's usually chronic, right? Float some hearts or float some comments if you've had lower back pain more than once. Most of the time, it's not a one-time shot. You don't have a knee injury. You don't have tendonitis in your knees once. You don't have lower back pain one time. It comes, it goes, then it comes back, and then it goes, and then it comes back. You know why? Because you have pain, and then you stop because you have pain, and you rest until the pain goes away, and then you start doing the same shit you were always doing before, and then the pain comes back. Big surprise. Big surprise. Same thing with tendonitis, like in the elbows. You stop doing arm exercises. Of course, the pain goes away, the inflammation goes away. And then you start going back to doing upper body exercise again, and the pain fucking comes back. Oh, wow. No shit. No shit, Sherlock. Really? Really? So in order to balance out and create that balance and stability around the hips, you need to do glute activation exercise. I'll drop a couple right now. I'll tell you what they are, but it doesn't help you because you still have to do them properly. You still have to really align the body properly. And just me here sitting and just telling you a couple exercises to do will not activate your glutes for you. It's very important to do them properly. And that's why I break all these down in my instructional videos, because it's very important that you have the right alignment. But exercises like the plank, when done properly, 99% of you watching do not do your planks properly because you're not aligned properly. Doing hip bridges properly, again, single leg and double leg hip bridges, even frog bridges are effective. Single leg squats, single leg balance reach, a balance exercise on one leg. These are exercises that you could do anywhere. You can do anywhere. You can do with no equipment. So there's no excuse not to do them. And these are great exercises to do at the beginning of your workouts. Those of you that have seen me do, I posted a video on Instagram and Facebook a week or so ago about the lateral tube walking. I had the band around my ankles, and that's one of the best ways to activate the gluteus medius. And that is one of the important stabilizers of the glutes, gluteus maximus, gluteus medius. Those are two of the major ones that need to be firing in order to help activate the base of your core. So remember, we're activating the base of the core. We're not fixing. So many people have back pain and go and try to do back exercise and do Superman and try to do back extensions. You're not going to fix your back by training your back. Your back is fucked up because your glutes are fucked up, because your posture's fucked up, because your lifestyle habits are fucked up. You're supposed to be moving. You're supposed to be lengthening. You're supposed to be doing yoga. You're supposed to be stretching. You're supposed to be maximizing your range of motion on a daily basis. You're not supposed to be sitting at a desk at a computer for 15 hours a day. It's not normal. It's not normal. Society, it's normal, but it's not normal. You should not be doing that. It's not good for the body. On an evolutionary level, on a human level, it's not normal. It's not good. And that's why we're having problems. If you don't believe me, why are there so many fucking health problems? Why does everyone have back pain? Why does everyone have injuries? Why does everyone have hypertension? Why is diabetes going rampant? Why is obesity so fucking bad? It's because it's not right. We're not doing the right shit. And there's so much information out there. It just takes you to step up and, oh man, he's right. That does make sense. Let me try these things. Yeah, let me fucking try these things. So start taking a proactive approach. Your back pain is not going to go away by not doing anything. By stopping and letting the pain subside, it's just going to come back. I promise you, it's going to come back over and over again until you have an injury that's so severe that you need surgery or you tear your ACL, you fuck up your knee, even worse, it's very important that you take a proactive stance. So those of you that are those of you that are looking for that kind of structured approach, those of you that are looking for those corrective exercises, I have some stuff on my YouTube channel. I've posted some videos here on Facebook and Instagram. If you want that systematic approach and you want to get access to the glute pack and the 90-day dash and really get into all this mobility and start and reform your foundation, that's where my Swolenormous X community comes in. So if you're interested in that type of content, Swolenormousx.com. The link is in my post description here on Facebook and also in my bio, Swolenormous.com. Swolenormousx.com is where you'll find all that and my private community with all the corrective exercise and programs and lesson packs and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let's take a couple comments. Let me see what's going on in the feed, because I know a lot of you. 100% form over intensity, no doubt. Herkman, yeah, lower back pain, chronic. Oliver loved the glute pack and Swolenormous X. Hell yeah, bro. I had a few of those exercises in almost every day. That's right, man. That's right. Leslie Franklin, I work on my feet 8 hours a day. And that's the same kind of concept, because when you're working on your feet, you're going to be adjusting your posture. You're going to be leaning side to side. Anytime you're in one position, everyone's talking about standing desks. And yeah, standing desks are great because you're vertical. But if you're standing in one position all day, it's not good either. Like, you need to be moving. But standing desks can help you be more active because you're standing. You can walk around. You're more likely to move if you're standing than if you're sitting. So just be aware, if you're one of those standing desk people, just standing in one place for 8 hours it's still not good. You have to move around. And anyone that's a cashier or does like retail, you know what I mean, like just standing around. Aaron Bertani, 10 hours a day at a computer after a T-bone accident where a truck ran a red light. Oh, dear. Need to change it pronto. Pain's constant. Well, yeah, you're in the right place there. I know you just signed up for Swolenormous X last night, so we'll get into it. And starting those correctives in yoga are extremely important. Christopher Butler on Facebook, threw out my back messing around with a bat while sitting on the edge of a bed. When I was a teenager, worst, most intense couple of minutes of pain in my life started negatively affecting my life 10 to 15 years later. Isn't that crazy? And that's another thing. You might have an acute injury or something that you just brush off. And here's the problem with that. Whether you injured your shoulder playing football in college, or you hurt your back as a teenager, or you fell out of a tree when you were 6, these are things that won't necessarily affect you in that time frame of 10 to 15 years. Once you get older and these bones fuse, you stop growing, and that difference of movement that you've been doing subtly for 10 to 15 years start to rear their ugly head as chronic pain. And you're thinking, why do I have pain? Oh, I don't know. I'm just getting old, or this, that, and the other. A lot of times it's from those injuries that never got addressed properly when we're younger, whether we're in college, whether we're a teenager, whether we're 30 and now we're 50. Those are things that are going to linger and they build up. So you can sprain your ankle and it'd be no big deal. You're kind of like, limping for a couple days. You're on crutches for a couple days. 5 years later, you could have knee pain chronically because you never fixed how you walked, because you were guiding and you were guarding your ankle. So your gait changed. So you weren't tracking through your walking properly. So your glute on that side shut down. And then you had an imbalance in your hips. And now you have chronic back pain because you never took care of doing glute activation when you sprained your ankle 5 years ago. That's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. And when you think about it in that sense, it's preventable. These are preventable injuries, or these are reversible injuries and reversible pains. Now, if you got into a car accident, that's different. I mean, these exercises can still help as long as you're clear. Like, these are still potentially beneficial to you, but impact injuries and those kinds of things, they do things that aren't normal. Like if you injure your back, you have chronic pain because you have an imbalance from an ankle sprain that you had 10 years ago, you're more likely to see a lot of improvements than someone who got like T-boned in a car. Not that you can't see progress, but it's a different type of injury. It's coming from a different place. So you have different stuff going on. Obviously, you can understand, those of you that are watching, that the impact from a car accident is going to cause, likely more catastrophic injuries and compressions and stuff than, let's say, you bent over to pick up your purse and you pulled a muscle in your back. It's not the same kind of tension and force. So there's more things at play. So just understand where your injuries are coming from and just be realistic. But yoga and mobility is going to help everyone. It'll help anyone. I don't care what injury you have. It's always going to be good for you. The magnitude of what it can cure, it depends on what the source is and what the reason is for it starting. What are those words written on your wall? Those are my own quotes. Those are quotes taken from other people. Those are motivations, mantras. Those are things that keep me inspired and things that I like to remind myself of. I stretch my feet every morning. Good. Fractured my ankle last summer. A month in, boot, and then straight to PT to avoid lingering problems. Well, hopefully you're doing glute activation, my dear. Aaron. Yeah, Aaron, you'll be fine. You'll see a lot of progress. You'll be great. But just think about that, fam. Like if you've had an injury, um, for sure. Loving the glute pack. Any stretching tips? Yeah, we just talked about it. It's yoga and mobility. It's the glute pack and the activation exercise I talked about in my Swolenormous X community. There's a lot of tips. There's a lot of stuff, but yoga is a great place to start if you're not part of the community. My 4-year-old wants to see your muscles. He loves flexing when I work out. That's awesome. He wants to see my muscles. Well, I got a lot of videos where I'm flexing, so I'm glad your 4-year-old. You have your 4-year-old watching this. You got to be careful because I say fuck a lot. Dun, dun, dun. One of the best episodes. Thank you for the nukes. You're welcome, Tomer, on Instagram. Lena, thank you for your time and for sharing. Papa for present. I like that. Should I be present? President Swolio? Papa Swolio 2018. I'm probably gonna make. I'm gonna have to make a shirt. I'm gonna have to make a shirt. Swolio for Prez, and I might have to start sending those out. I might have to start sending out Papa Swolio 2020 gains to get making America swole again in 2020. We'll do that. We'll change the game. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for episode 624. I hope you enjoyed this knowledge nuke packed episode. A little nip pinching for the fam. You get it? Episode 624. So every day live at 12 noon Eastern time, Facebook, Instagram. And also you can catch the podcast, SoundCloud, and iTunes. So make sure if you haven't checked into the podcast, make sure that you do so and show some support over there on SoundCloud and on Apple Podcasts. Just type in The Daily Swole, type in Swolenormous, and you will see every episode up to 624, which will be posted today on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts on iTunes. So thank you so much for joining me. Peace, McGee's fam. Deuce Magoose. Papa Swolio. Out.